My name is Hannah, and this is my year of less stuff. Hey y'all, so today's video is just a simple demonstration. It's kind of like a get ready with me, but I'm going to try to edit it, I think, with a little bit more space and time and music in it. I usually fast forward through all of the blending and stuff like that. I'm going to try to make this one a little bit more protracted and relaxed, so a little bit more of a demonstration maybe than like the traditional get ready with me that I usually do. I'm having a little bit of a down day. I'm feeling particularly down today about the inability of the healthcare system in my country to cope with what it's currently being asked to handle. And I just wanted to do something that would be soothing both for me and for you, something that wouldn't require me to put together sentences that are too complex or really like be too cheery. And this is what I decided on. And I did really enjoy the process of it. And obviously I haven't edited it out yet, but I hope that it'll make a good video. And I do like the look that I came up with. It's very me. And I used all of the, not all of them, but I only used the makeup products that I have picked out of my collection as being the ones that I would purchase if I were starting over from scratch with my makeup. If you want to know what they all are, then watch yesterday's video because that was the contents of yesterday's video. As you'll know if you watched that video to the end, I've decided to only use these products for at least a week, if not longer, and see how it goes. So this is actually the second morning of only having these products, and it's been really fun. I've really felt in myself a propensity to mix and match among them, especially with this eye look. I used all of the eye products that I picked except for the Cliona shadows for this look on my eyes today. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of the video. Okay, y'all, so we're fairly zoomed in and I haven't even primed my eyes yet. I'm going to do that first. I'm just going to make my way through the makeup that I want to put on my face today. I will try to include more of the footage than I usually do in this, like more detail and maybe not as much talking, a little bit more music, that kind of thing. I just want it to be something that's calm and relaxing and kind of indulgent to watch. I'll try to stay relatively zoomed in for the face. I'm going to zoom in even more though and start with my eyes. Priming with my current eye primer. Today I'm going to be using all of the products that I currently have out on my vanity as my little sort of ideal collection that I outlined in my most recent video. I always try to tap my eye primer on with a little bit of smudging, maybe while it's still damp before it's gotten tacky. But as it starts to get tacky, I stop pulling to avoid pulling on the skin of my eyelid, and I really just start tapping it in. I'm going to start with this red shade in the Rowan 75 Degrees Warm Quad. It's called FaceTime. It's my least used shade in this quad. And now with only a few different eyeshadow type products and palettes to choose from, I'm starting to kind of like dig into the shades that I use less frequently in these few pieces of makeup that I'm keeping on my vanity for now. And this is definitely one of them. I'm like seeing the possibilities in these few pieces of makeup, whereas I usually just default to the aspects of them that automatically draw me in the most. So I've started tapping FaceTime onto my lid. I think that for this look, I'm actually going to take this shade all the way up to my brows. I'm going to cover the whole lid space between my lashes and my brows with this cream shadow and then build powder shadows and maybe other creams on top of it. I'm going to proceed with my finger and then with a brush so that I get a little bit of a gradient towards the brow, but I'm really hoping to cover the entire eye area with this pigment. When I first got this quad and started working with these Rowan shadows, I struggled with blending them with a brush. But as I've worked with this quad more and with the other quad that I have, I've realized that they actually respond pretty well to being blended with a brush, especially if you put a good application, like a pretty thick layer, down on your eyes first using your finger and then go in with a brush. So I use my finger to kind of break the seal on the pan and really get like a thick layer, like a thick layer of goop on my finger. And then I transfer that layer of goop onto my eyes, sort of in a concentrated spot like that. And then if I go into that and blend it up, it's really easy to get the brush to work with it. It's almost like I use my finger to turn what is actually kind of like a well-set cream shadow in the pan, to turn that into something more creamy, more fluid, and more emollient. I'm doing that with the warmth of my finger and with the pressure. And then when I've applied that creamier and more emollient version of the product to my lid, it blends more easily. It blends kind of like the Tom Ford cream shadow. Tom Ford cream shadow is in a moussier state to begin with. It's like moussier in its pot, whereas the Rowan ones are more set in their pans, probably because the compact doesn't seal the way that that jar does. So they have to be able to set down a little bit. It has to be an aspect of the formula. But it's really easy to kind of like reconstitute them with some heat and pressure and make them creamier and easier to blend. As long as I've got this out, I'm going to go in with this little Rephr 03 pencil brush. And because I've been digging into it with my finger for the past couple of minutes, there is like a more emollient, creamier layer on the surface of the pan. So I'm able to pick some of that up with this brush by swirling it around. It's really important with these shadows not to be afraid to dig into them. So I basically painted that along my lower lash line with this little pencil brush, and now I'm going to take this kind of like flat domed brush, the Rephr 02, and blend it out the way that I was using that fluffier brush to blend it out on my upper lid. Okay, there we have the grungy, kind of like faded out smudgy red base that I'm going for. I love this use for the Rowan shades, this application. It's like putting down some texture and dimension at the base of the look. If I had laid down this same base with a powder shadow in a similar color, even one with some shimmer in it, it just wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't have that same like grippy smudginess. It wouldn't have that same editorial texture. I'm going to go in now with another cream shadow. I'm actually going to take this cream that's in the base of this Tom Ford cream and powder duo, and I'm going to use it to build some depth into the outer corners of my eyes. So I really like using this brush to paint cream shadow into my outer corner. For some reason I feel like I get the right amount of control to be able to place it precisely, but then I can use the wide edge of it, like the length of the tip of it, to blend. It's really easy to blend these two cream shadows into each other. The Tom Ford cream shadow is moussier, more liquid to begin with. It's like a softer, just more emollient texture to begin with, but then it's going to set down more than the Rowan shadows do. So it's blending really easily. It's almost like emulsifying and picking up some of the Rowan shadow and helping it to be reconstituted and blend better, and then it's also going to help it set down. And then the Rowan shadow is contributing those kind of like creamy, smeary micas and mixing them into the Tom Ford shadow. I really like the way that they work together. I'm gonna pop some of this Tom Ford cream shadow onto my lower lash line. So that would be perfectly fine with a bit of liner and mascara. I think that it would look bomb, but I want to do more. I'm going to go in with some like deeper powder shadows, probably a mix of the matte black and the matte brown in my Persona Cosmetics Identity 2 palette, and I'm going to build some of that along the edges of my lashes and into the corner to make it a little smokier, a little darker, and also to help set it a little more. Even though I know that these cream shadows will set down pretty well on their own, it helps a little to mix in some powder shadow. So I'm just kind of like sticking the black and brown, the mixture of the black and brown powder, just like sticking it down into my outer corner, and then going back with a bigger, fluffier brush that I started with and gently blending it out over not too big of a surface area. But I like taking this kind of fluffier brush and then blending it, but not blending it over too big of a surface area. I feel like that always gets me just the blend that I'm looking for. And then kind of going gently around the edges. Mixing in those powder shadows, it's like it brings out the greeniness in the black. It brings out the grunginess in the colors of those cream shadows, and it just gives it a little more grit. Drawing some of the black along my upper lash line just to define my lashes even more. And then blending that out. I'm going to pop a little bit of black eyeliner into my waterline. And then I'm going to smudge that out and kind of set it at the same time with a tiny bit of black powder on this tiny pencil brush. That tiny bit of black on the waterline underneath the eyes, smudged down into the shadows that were already buffed out there, really goes a long way to add to the kind of grungy style of the look, the smokiness of it. And these days I've been kind of into the idea of having a darker lower lash line than you see anywhere else on the eye. So more darkness on the lower lash line than you see anywhere else on the eye. It's like my waterline, my lower lash line is deeper and more defined than the sort of smudgy, smeary, watercolory situation on the upper lid. The last thing I'm going to do with this look is to add some wet looking shine with this powder shadow in the top of the Tom Ford Duo. And for this, I'm going to go with a pretty fluffy brush actually. I find that these fluffy, rougher brushes, because of the fibers, they pick up even a kind of dry and glittery shadow like this. They pick it up pretty well, and I love the way that they distribute this type of powder. So I'm going to mostly concentrate this on my brow bone to soften the blend of the red into my brows, but I'm going to bring it down all the way onto my lids to give me that wet look. My bangs are really misbehaving today. I don't know what to say to them. I'm going to skip the step that I've been doing lately with this of putting it on my lower lash line. I've noticed in some of the footage lately from videos that if there's too much kind of really wet look of glitter smeared out underneath my eyes, it'll catch in the creases that I have there and sometimes make it look less intentionally messy, and it can sometimes kind of age my eyes. So I'm experimenting with putting less glitter and shine on my lower lash line, even though I'm packing it onto my lids. I want to complete this eye look with some really dramatic mascara, and to get that dramatic spidery pipe cleanery application, I'm going to use the Gucci Mascara L'Obscure. I'm going to put on a bunch of layers right now, and then I'm going to let it fully dry while I brush up my brows with soap and fill them in a little bit. I think I'm going to go for kind of an editorial brow look today as well, and then after I finish with the brows, I'll go back to a second layer of mascara on the lashes. I'm wetting my soap with a little bit of the Glossier face mist and getting a ton of soapy gunk onto my spoolie today because I really want to paste my brows to my skin. I really want to laminate them. This might not be true for everyone's brows, but I find that with soap brows I need more soap gunk than I ever think I do to get them to do what I want and then to get them to stick. I'm really pushing that soap gunk into my brows all the way down to the tail, making sure that I can see it transferring into my brows. And now I'm combing it through, but trying to make sure not to comb it out. I'm going to let that sit while I do the other side, and then I'm going to press it down with the end of this tool. So the soap gunk is starting to set in this first brow, and I'm using the tip of the other side, which is the cover of the pencil part, to really press it and stick it to my skin. So I'm making my brows totally flat. It makes it look like they're drawn on pencil strokes like Valentina's brows or Sasha Velour's brows. I didn't get enough soap into the tails. They're starting to pop up, so I'm putting some more soap there. I find that once they're stuck down pretty well, I can comb back through them with the spoolie to reshape. So I like the shape that these brows are making. They're fully laminated, but they're a little bit sparse in some places. So I'm going to go back with the pencil and fill them in, but first I'm going to kind of let them sit for a while, and while they're sitting I'll do the other application of mascara. Then I'll go back with the pencil end of this brow pencil and just add in a couple of soft strokes to make my brows look a little bit fuller. All right, there's those pipe cleaner lashes I was looking for, and I'm gonna go back to the brows now. I'm not worrying about filling them in too much. I kind of like the look of the sparse hair strokes. I'm just trying to make sure that there are no patches that can be kind of construed as bald patches, but I'm still trying to retain the stylistic choice of the brushed up laminated brow. All right, I'm gonna stop fussing with it. It's a very spiky, funky, pasted down brow, but I think it really suits this eye look. It makes the eye look more editorial, or more sort of more like a statement look than maybe it would have otherwise looked on its own. I'm gonna zoom out and just kind of like move quickly through the rest of the face. I really wanted this to just be a demonstration of my eye look and the surrounding areas. The rest of the face is just going to be like just a quick bit of base. So I started the video with a little bit, just a wash of the Aaron's Faces concealer on top of the VDL Lumi Layer Primer. The concealer, it's so nourishing that it's lovely to just put down as a base. It even feels a little bit like skincare, especially if I'm going to be working for a while on my eyes. And then I can come back and just brighten it up a little bit with my brightening concealer, which is the Makeup Forever Ultra HD in Pearl. Really just a tiny bit. With a heavy, grungy eye look like this and such a dramatic, weird brow, I really don't want it to look like there's makeup on my face. I want it to look really minimal everywhere else, especially the skin. That said, I don't want my face to stay completely washed out like this, because the darkness of the eyes, especially that black eyeliner, makes the rest of my face look really, really white. So I'm going to try to give it some soft dimension and some life without really making it look like I've applied much makeup. I'm going to mix the Glossier Dusk with Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light Wand and Spotlight. So I tried not to get too blush drapey with that. As the product wore off of the brush, I did softly buff it a little bit into the outer edges of where I brought that orange eyeshadow, the Rowan shadow, when I started, just to make it more seamless, but I tried not to apply enough blush to that area so that it really looked like the blush was bleeding into the eye look. I really wanted to keep it light on the rest of the face, not a blush draping look, just a bit of brightening in color. In the mirror now, and especially in the monitor, I now look less stark, less ghostly because of that color in my cheeks. Weirdly, I think adding color to my cheeks has made it look less like I have base makeup on, because when my skin was just washed out and even, it looked like I had a lot of foundation on, and now it looks maybe like I don't have that much on my skin, and that's what I prefer. To stick with the theme of no makeup on the rest of the face, I'm going to use my Givenchy lip liner in number 9 to add a really natural looking color to my lips. So that has allowed me to define and even overline my lips. They're a little bit plumper looking and the color of them has changed. It's a little bit more brown, matches the eyes a little more, makes the whole look a little more cohesive. But close up, it really doesn't look like there's anything on my lips. You can't see the texture of the product. You can see the texture of my lip skin. You can see the cracks and the dryness. You can see exactly the way that my lips looked when I woke up this morning. It's just that the color and the size have changed a little bit. It really, really doesn't look like makeup, and I prefer that for such a heavy statement eye. All right, that's it for the makeup. I'm gonna go change into a different top for the outro so that you can see kind of like how this completed look will look when I'm not in my house robe. Okay, y'all, there's the actual look with an item of actual clothing, and my hair is how I'll probably leave it for today. It's getting close to needing to be washed, but I feel like that's sort of when it's at its best, with the exception of my extremely ornery bangs today. I don't know what their deal is, but it looks like they're starting to calm down a little bit. That is it. I hope that this was in some way enjoyable. It was enjoyable for me. It gave me a little reprieve from all of the negative spirals of thinking, just to like focus in on talking my way through some makeup, being creative, being meticulous about brushing up and sticking down my brows, and just, you know, being with you guys, being connected, and indulging in like texture and shape. And I feel like that's like what I could offer today. It was the best that I could do today for you and for me, and I really appreciate you being here with me and watching it. Thank you so much, and don't forget to take extra good care of yourself today so that you can be the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.